In our journey to make this film, little did we know how events would unfold before us. For 10 years, we set out to capture on film the struggles of orphan children in Haiti, children who were abandoned and left to survive by themselves on the mean streets of the city of Port-au-Prince. As filmmakers, we wanted to be detached at first, but inevitably we started to become intertwined in these children's lives and swept along in their remarkable journey. One former street kid we have gotten to know is the 21-year-old named Wilner St. Fort. His life has become a testament for these abandoned children. This is their story.
Papa, m'bral voltiger dans ciel là, m'bral voltiger. Ma voltiger dans ciel là, ma voltiger. C'est les trompettes là va sonner, m'bral voltiger en l'air. M'bral voltiger, ma voltiger.
Bon, l'air encore c'est ça. Comment ça va
Combien bois c'est ça? Combien bois c'est ça? Jamais pas nous pouvoir tout ça.
Ça me demande de ça tout là, on va venir bamba.
Oh, si vous ça merde, hein?
This is CNN Breaking News.
If you're just joining us, we're following the breaking news out of Haiti. The largest, most powerful earthquake in the region's history has crippled the country, measuring 7.0. Its epicenter was just a few miles outside the capital, Port-au-Prince. There are reports of toppled buildings there.
There's still no accurate count from the government. The 7.0 temblor is being called the largest quake there in more than 200 years. Tonight, tens of thousands of people are sleeping in the streets.
We estimate that up to 2 million people have been exposed to violent shakes.
This morning, I want to extend to the people of Haiti the deep condolences and unwavering support of the American people following yesterday's terrible earthquake. We are just now beginning to learn the extent of the devastation.
We made multiple trips to Haiti over the course of a decade to document the plight of the street children in Port-au-Prince. We were finished filming and were putting the film together when the earthquake had struck. We had to go back. We didn't know if the subjects of our film were dead or alive, and we had to find out. Before we arrived, we had no communication with anyone. Then we saw a familiar face.
How are you? That's Dennis. You survived? Yeah, how are you? Yeah. Oh my God.
This was not the Haiti we remembered. Bodies were being burned on the streets. The stench of death was everywhere. Buildings were unrecognizable.
Some people come here to help Haiti. Some people come to make money because there's a lot of help coming to Haiti. But some people come to help Haiti, really want to help Haiti. Haiti needs help. But some people pretend to help the country, but they not really care for the people. They just focus on the money the other nations send to help Haiti. Yeah, before the earthquake, we have so many children living on the streets. But after the earthquake, everybody becomes street kids right now because they are homeless because the earthquake is broken their house, and now they are all living on the street. Their life is very hard now.
Now, what's happening? What's going to happen to the real street kids?
The real street kid might be died somewhere, and nobody knows what's happened to them because nobody cares about them.
We were looking for our friend Jimmy. We had met him in the process of making our film. He was a former street kid and now runs an orphanage of his own. Suddenly we spotted Jimmy coming towards us on the road.
Oh, okay. So, you lost weight? Yeah, so it's pretty bad, huh?
So I'm very happy to see.
Yeah, how's the kids?
Shaking all over. Jimmy.
We had to go look for the others, especially the children. Our film crew first arrived in Haiti in 2001 to document the conditions of children living on the streets and to see what was being done for them.
This documentary has been going on since 2001. At that time, my friends and fellow filmmaker Ron Bex asked me, let's go to Haiti to film. And so why not?
This is where we first met a young street kid named Wilner St. Fort.
I was on the street when I was 9 years old. I stayed there for 3 years. I was on the street because my father was dead. It's a very hard life when someone lives in the street because it's not easy to find food, you're homeless. To find something to eat, I have to go to the street kitchen, Cuban, Then I ask for some food.
In 2001, we visited an orphanage in the city of Port-au-Prince. There are many street children at this particular orphanage. It was very apparent that these children were physically and sexually abused, and in some cases by the very people who are supposed to be their caretakers. Now, many of these street kids that we met in 2001 at this one particular orphanage in Port-au-Prince are now young adults. Jimmy Pierre, Wilner St. Fort, Emmanuel Charles, and Joseph Michelet. Through our research, we found out that most orphanages are run well by legitimate organizations. In some cases, this is not so. Wilner, Jimmy, Emmanuel, and Joseph didn't get the proper education even though they were part of an orphanage, which is the case at times in Haiti. Majority of them were good kids. What was the tragedy of the whole situation is that they didn't have any education, and they were so longing to go to school or learning some kind of trade that would help them in life. They wanted this opportunity, but they were basically robbed of their future. In 2009, my director friend, Young, told me that he wanted to do a story based upon the street children that he actually filmed back in 2001. Today, these street children are young adults now, and in our research, we found out that Wilner and Jimmy has their own orphanages in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. My mother and I felt that helping the poor was an important aspect of the ministry of Jesus Christ on earth.
Back in Korea, I came from a large family. My parents never had enough food to feed everybody, so my mother sent me away from one family to end up to many families. Sometimes actually they kicked me out, so I end up on the street. They made me very, very strong as I grew up. That's why I'm in the ministry to help those who are poor. Galatians chapter 2:10. They ask us to do only one thing, to remember to help those who are poor. This was something that I really wanted to do. So it's reaching out those people is a good thing to do.
So we decided to visit the children to see how we can help through the use of media to help these children. We are on our way to see Jimmy Pierre's orphanage in Port-au-Prince. Yes, here we are in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, driving along the roads at high speed. We are on the way to see Jimmy's orphanage for the first time.
Oh, my name is Jimmy Pierre. It means combinations, 2 kids, and then this is my area of my house orphanage. And then I have 18 years old, and then I'm very happy. I have 7 kids, 2 kids, and I'll show the kids. James Lee and Stevenson, Claudia Scazimi, Baby, and you. This is Gison Payton and Ziggy Koveshal. This is Williams Derali.
Jimmy doesn't always have enough money to feed the children in his care. Here he demonstrates how they make sugar water to make up for missing meals. Sometimes the sugar water is supplemented with a slice of bread, but sometimes not. And this is the side effect of the sugar water on the kids.
Hi, my name is Maggie. I'm a nurse here in Haiti. I've been living in Haiti for a year now. I've had many different interactions with street kids and orphans. I've had some association with an orphanage in which a lot of the children there were orphaned and left in the streets for a long time, or they were brought in as restavics or slaves and had to work for people selling drugs on the streets. You have little 4 or 5-year-old children who are used to sell drugs and to, for a time, even to carry guns and steal. And you know, these kids were raped and abused. Kids are taken out of these situations and are given a hope, given help. These kids, all of a sudden, you see them change. For a while, they're kind of like old people, you know, because they're hardened to life. Even at the age of 6 or 7, they're hard. But the more love they receive and the more help they receive, the more they soften and become like children again.
So when I look at these street children's faces, and that reminds me, it's just any other kid, like my grandchildren. And children are children. No matter which country they come from, it's that they know how to laugh, they know how to be happy. And only thing different is the circumstances. They live on the streets. So there's not much choices. Some people take advantage of the situation.
There was this one instance where we saw this one lady that was hovered over this child in this park. And we were kind of curious because the kid was crying. So as we approached, she stood up and then we asked her, what are you doing? And she said that she was putting Tabasco into the kid's eyes. And we were thinking, why would you do that? And she said she was just having fun. And you know, you didn't have any parents and you had to sleep in the corner of this alleyway next to a truck tire, and that would be the place to hide and shelter yourself. Imagine what goes through a child's mind. So those are the kind of things that we were thinking about in Haiti, what these children have to go through.
You sleep in the street, they pass by you and they just embarrassed with you, they just leave you, you know, they don't want to stay nearby you, you know. This is where I used to sleep when I was on the street. Sometimes when it's raining, I have to go to sleep inside of this house. living in this highway, you go to ask, begging people for some money to buy something to eat. This is Sean Mass. They got a lot of street kids around over here. So this is how I lived when I was in the street, in this highway.
Wilner was like a sponge. He would absorb everything we said. A certain difficult word, he would ask, what is that word? What is that word? You know, and we'd give him the definition. And, you know, in that kind of atmosphere where he could go to university, even high school, you know, I'm pretty sure he would have had such a different life.
When I was in Haiti, I had to walk away to find food. I know nowadays things must be hard. Here the last station. From here I got to walk to a fountain. When I don't have money, I have to walk on foot.
Live all the happiness you want. Ride those dreams, imagine and go far. You deserve what you want. No more tears. Don't let the darkness dim.
I met him in the Caribbean supermarket in Port-au-Prince when he asked me to buy him some baby food. I duly bought him some baby food and then asked him, I found out that he looks after orphans who were originally street kids in a little village outside Port-au-Prince. As I left Haiti in January, I took Wilner to one side, I visited the village here, emailed me after I got back to Scotland and said that he wanted to build a house for the orphans in Bellefontaine, which is the village where he and the children are. This surprised me considerably because I thought it was going to be quite an undertaking, and also that he probably didn't have enough money with which to do this. Anyway, I had said that he could spend the money how he wanted. I said, do you know how much this building is going to cost? He gave me a figure which I think was wildly optimistic, but it enabled the building to get started, and that's the main thing. I didn't hear from him for a little while he got going with building the orphanage, and it got to about 3 or 4 blocks high. We did the foundations anyway, and he said he ran out of money. So faced with the possibility of maybe a 1/4 built orphanage, a village a long way from Port-au-Prince, which if it was just left as it was going to be no good to anyone. Out here, they're in a peaceful environment, not always easy, but I do think that children should be properly looked after. It is the platform from which we grow into adulthood.
I want to give up because I have no income and fees, you know. Everything is hard, difficult, you know. More children, more needs, more problem, you know. More money to buy food, you know. More clothes, you know. I want to take good care of them. But for this moment, I cannot do that because I have no income and fees, you know.
As a result of extreme poverty, Haiti has a long history of child slavery, where poor parents sell or give away their children, usually to another extended family member. These children are called restivics, a word that derives from French meaning to stay with. We met one restivic who was a blind 16-year-old named Wendell.
So he would like to live the street, on the street.
Yeah. We went to La Saline, a slum of Port-au-Prince. This is where Wendell lives with his aunt, who is supposedly his owner.
This is Wendell's house. Oh, Wendell's house? Yeah, you can come in.
We wanted to find out why the situation was so desperate in Haiti.
She is Wendell's aunt. Wendell's mother died and left 5 children, left 5 children in her hand. Then Wendell's have to work and take care of the children. That's why Wendell go to beg on the street. Then when he came back, he feed the kids. The 5 children his mom has left to his. No, Wendell is not treated as West Africa. He said she wash clothes, Wendell's clothes, and she cook for Wendell. He said Wendell walks in the streets, beg and find money to pay school for his little brothers and sisters. They have people who live in this area, they have a bad life. She said back in the days, she borrowed like $500 Haitian.
And she was able to make a small profit to be able to feed her family and care for her family. But what happened, a gangster came along one day and pointed a gun and actually shot her in the neck and robbed her of all her money and also her vegetables. Wilner and Stefan took us to Cité Soleil to see firsthand the conditions there. We could see how armed gangs could rise in such a desperate environment. Even young kids were playfully flashing their territorial gang signs. Not surprisingly, these neighborhoods could hold the seeds of revolution or potential future terrorism, as Haiti's past violent clashes seem to indicate.
In Cité Soleil, a clay biscuit is about this size. I'm sure we can find one later. It's about this size, and it's a sun-dried biscuit made from clay, oil, and a little salt. And I tried to repeat the recipe in Scotland. I actually used potter's clay in a powder form, and just a little bit of oil, and I just made them in my own oven, and I just survived on these biscuits for a week, and invited sponsorship to do so. I found that it was actually not as difficult as I expected to get through that week. Basically, the clay just blocks you up and blunts your appetite. That's why the people here eat these biscuits.
Mud cookies was a big eye-opener. I've never seen anything like that, where people actually eat mud.
But they probably eat food some days, clay biscuits other days, and because to eat just clay biscuits just blocks you up completely, as I now know.
What happened?
The car is hot. I need to put some water in the cabiata.
This is how our driver starts the engine, with these two. He pushes it together and he starts the engine.
Mullah Scott was a colorful character of a man who wanted to show us his past exploits captured on video. He took us to a room he lived at the familiar Villa Imperial Hotel.
Let me show the M50. This is the M50. I got the radio show. They call and they told me they're going to use the M50. And they said they're going to use it against American ally. The UN wants to take it back, because this is a gun very, very dangerous, and they don't want to give it. And one day they said, I remember, to give back the M50. They said no, they don't respect the order. And some of the young people they call gangs members. They pick up the tanks and then they keep shooting against the US.
When they come like this, if they don't have job, if they don't have support, they're gonna do something like this. If they don't have education, they're gonna do something like this. You know, without education, you are nothing. You just live like in the street. You know, if you have education, you can do a lot of things in the life.
I saw one guy, I'll never forget this. This was in the main square in Port-au-Prince, and he had a scar that stretched all the way from here, all the way down to his pubic hair down there, about an inch wide. He had a puncture here, a puncture here, a puncture here, and a puncture here. And we asked him what had happened to him, and he said that he'd been shot by the police. And I think that he had to be opened up from top to bottom in order to save his life.
Through decades of systematic failure, Haiti's most educated people fled to the United States, Canada, France, and other countries, entrenching Haiti's poverty. We went to the U.S. mainland to find out the Haitian exile community's perspective on Haiti today.
Haitians, immigrants, Haitians in Florida. After Florida, it's New York, Brooklyn, New York. After that, Boston. We have a lot of Haitians working in the hospital. They're very hardworking people. A lot of drivers, yellow cab driver, Haitians. They're pretty much like everywhere, you know, try to survive. They're very, very hardworking people.
I used to work for the city of New York. Basically our food is we put the griot, which is the deep fried pork, goat and red snapper. Basically it's the griot and rice and beans. It's a national meal. I don't know the numbers, but I do know there's a lot of non-for-profit in Haiti that's serving the Haitian community. They are not only in Port-au-Prince, but they're all over Haiti. But I think that the NGO that are operating in Haiti, some of them are doing a good job, but we do need more. Instead of give them food, we need to teach them how to get the food themselves instead of giving them food all the time.
My name is Cynthia Charles. I am born in Montreal, Canada, of parents of Haitian descent. I have not been to Haiti, and part of that reason is I've been to the Dominican Republic. I have never been able to calm the fears of my family enough to go. Every time I've been like I'm going to go, it's like it's not safe. My mother's family was semi-exiled as part of the Duvalier, and the coup. So a lot of my family members left Haiti unable to return for a long time. I mean, the poverty in Haiti, just being the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, is startling, because if you've been to other countries in the Caribbean, although there is still that level of poverty in Jamaica and some of other places, Haiti has not had the ability to build the tourism industry, the agricultural industry. Some of the industries that have allowed for a middle class and other Caribbean nations have not happened in Haiti. And as a result, you have a country that technically has no infrastructure and whose government is unable to provide the services to children, to their parents, to the slums, that in some countries in the Caribbean, even though not to the extent of any Western nation, have been able to provide. And even the middle class, the ability to have a middle class that works at your hotels and your luxury resorts, that has not been able to happen in Haiti. And as a result, the population of street kids who in other places could have gone to school, In some places in Haiti, there are no schools. So I think the lack of government has made the problem even worse for street kids in Haiti than any other surrounding nation.
Sandy Caesar. I'm a mother of 3. I've been here 14 years and I'm currently employed with the state of Hawaii. I do remember Haiti pretty well because I left there. I was still a teenager, so I'll always be proud of where I'm from because our culture is one that's very interesting. Because coming from Africa and brought over to the island of, at first it was Hispaniola. Haiti was never a free country, but in 1804, we became the first Black republic, the first Black country to be independent. We governed our own self, but Haiti had always been undermined by other influences. My earliest memories of the instability of Haiti is when Jean-Claude Duvalier had to leave Haiti in 1986. And since then, to me, it's been a lot of up and down for the country. The street kids, to me, they are the result of bad government because Haiti has been a country where a lot of international aid has flown into the country for years. But those aid that was supposed to go to help the people in need, ultimately the street kids, it did not trickle down to them. Once a mother passes away, a father passes away, then you have kids without any families, then there's no strong establishment to take them in. So these kids then had to go out and fend for themselves.
That sometimes through all the tragedy and hardships these street kids go through is to have faith. On many of our trips to Haiti, we've run across really dangerous situations where we've had actually assassins chasing us, finding out a lot of things that were going on in Haiti that wasn't moral or ethical. And it affected these street kids' lives. Proverbs 22:6 is to train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Meaning that I believe it's very important to have a structure in these kids' lives. And I believe that God is going to make these young men into future leaders in Haiti and in the world. I think it's our responsibility to not give up, to keep working with them.
Really what is going on with the Wheeler and the kids. Many things happen behind the unseen, so we have to really get to know truth of what is the really problem they face every day. So right now we have to fly back again.
Many times that we go to Haiti, is to get some additional interviews, to film more. The miraculous thing about it was just getting to know these kids. Getting to know them has been real joy in our lives as filmmakers. We went back to Haiti in December of 2009 to shoot more footage and to inspire the younger and older street kids. We prayed together and sang together. I know that he's bringing a change about Haiti. And it's going to start with the street kids. So Haiti's going to change like this out. we said our goodbyes to the street kids, and on December 4th, 2009, we flew back to the States. This was our last glimpse of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, as it was before the earthquake.
At that time, I was with my friend at the office, and I heard the news.
So we were thinking very, very hard about possibly going back.
At this moment, we're moving forward with one of the largest relief efforts in our history to save lives and to deliver relief that averts an even larger catastrophe. There are going to be many difficult days ahead. So many people are in need of assistance.
Pitch black. There is no single light at all.
We didn't know if, when we arrived in Haiti, who would greet us, where we would stay. We figured we'd probably be camping out in the open ground area with other rescue teams. So we were prepared for that.
Finally, Jimmy had the call, so he told me he could use that, one of the emergency call through U.S. military rescue team. So I told him, go down to bus stations, and my son Dennis and Director Young gonna be there. So no matter how long it takes, just wait at the bus station.
Go to the bus station, go to the bus station. This is where they're gonna be, this is where they're gonna be.
And finally we arrived at the bus station, and through tinted glass, we saw the wheeler is waiting for us. It was like, oh, thank God.
Hi, Dennis. You're alive.
Yes, I'm alive.
How come we didn't hear from you?
The smell came in, the dead body smell from under the crumpled buildings. That was like horrible. The first night in the Haiti.
There are bodies being burned on the streets. It was something I've never ever seen before. You could feel the tension in the air, the anxiety, and rescue teams were all over the place.
With the government and the people of Haiti, for in Haiti's devastation, we all see the common humanity that we share. We also know that our longer-term effort will not be measured in days and weeks. It will be measured in months and even years. To the people of Haiti, we say clearly and with conviction, you will not be forsaken. You will not be forgotten.
Everybody's afraid of actually going back in their houses right now. So
Yeah, down there.
Oh, they're over here? Hi.
Okay, this is Jimmy's girlfriend.
See.
Have doctors come here to help the kids?
Not yet. Not yet. No doctor comes.
Charity organizations?
Not yet. Not yet. Nobody comes. Nobody comes.
Oh, I see. Since there were no doctors around, our director was physician on hand at the moment.
Oh, Joseph, this is Joseph.
Yeah, this is Joseph.
Wow, you're safe.
But you know, I'm safe now.
Yeah.
But you know the situation.
I know the situation.
There is no water, there is no food.
No water?
No water, no place to stay.
Fifth day, and not that many doctors came by here. As of course, always the poorest don't get the help they need.
The buildings around Jimmy's orphanage were completely destroyed. It was a miracle that most of them had survived.
When the house is shaking, so they try to run out. That's why some of them get hurt. Because you can see downstairs.
Oh, are you okay, William?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Did you get hurt? Did you get hurt?
Earthquake is coming. Jimmy's kid was inside the house. Then when they saw the house is shaking, then they try to run away. Then when they come out, the upstairs is broke down. Some of them get hurt, but they are not die. Nobody died.
So where's the one kid died?
Where's Mario? What happened to Mario?
Mario is died. A big truck coming and they take his body to go through somewhere else.
Do you know where he's buried?
No, nobody knows where he went.
How was he as a kid?
He was a nice kid. He was very quiet.
1 month before, Mario sit in the middle of the kids, and he has big eyes, and then he like write down, study very hard. So I still remember his face, and he's gone. He died.
Everybody built their own refugee tent so they can survive because they have nowhere else to live. They have no choice. They have to live to survive in the forest because they have no home. There is more. I thought there is more than 40,000 refugee tents because most of Asian people lost their home. So they go to live in the forest. Nobody can take them out. Nobody are able to take them because everywhere in Haiti were broken right now. Many people died. Yeah, this is another place where I was taking you last time, but now the White House is broke down.
Here right now we're going to an area where there's a lot of relief. I guess there's some relief trucks that are distributing some food to the people.
His name is Mackenzie. Yeah, it's 10 years old.
How are they eating?
Il comment faire pour manger. He said he asked people to get something to eat.
Oh. Is he waiting in line over here for the food?
Yes, just take a line, people press him too much, maybe he's gonna die sometime. He said before the earthquake, he was better than right now.
We went back to La Saline to see if the blind young man Wendell and his aunt had survived.
Oh no.
This house, we moved. Wendell aunts, we moved to another home with Wendell.
Oh, okay, Wendell's alive then.
Wendell is alive.
Oh, good.
Wendell a move away? Yeah. They take Wendell to interview. They say we can meet Wendell right now.
Okay, okay.
I want to interview him.
No, just quick. So, you look real good. You speak English, yeah? No. A little bit.
But this is Wendell's aunt.
Though her house was leveled by the earthquake, she was happy to see us. She took us to see Wendell in one of the many tent cities that had sprouted up across Port-au-Prince. It was like a maze of makeshift homes as far as the eye could see. We found that the only reason Wendell had survived was that he was protected from falling debris by a dead body that had fallen on him while he was begging on the street. We gave some money to the aunt to keep Wendell and his siblings sustained for the time being. We said our goodbyes and hoped that the rains wouldn't come soon.
The street kids, unfortunately, have seen worse that Haiti has to offer. There's always hope for the street kids. My hope is that they will rise from this rubble they have to want better for themselves, because like you mentioned, we have so many different organizations that comes in, and when they look at those children, they think this is a hopeless case. Giving all this aid that are coming in, hopefully they see change. When we Haitians say l'union fait la force, it's through unity that we can stand. So those of you who are eventually gonna see this, take it from me. Know that you are worth it. Know that somebody cares. Know that you can do it. Giving all this aid that are coming in, hopefully they see change and they embrace this change to know that they are worth changing. Because when they change, they're not only changing themselves, but they're changing the state of Haiti as well.
I never think it's good to say, oh, we need to take these kids out of Haiti. No, we don't need to take these kids out of their situation. We need to take these kids and enable them to live and to survive and to have that hope for their future here in Haiti. And as I've met Wilner and worked with him a little bit, I've seen that one of the best things that can happen is to train these Haitian children as they grow to become the next leaders of Haiti. And I would say the best thing an American or anyone else to succeed in their culture, to become educated and to get out of that mindset that they don't matter. They think they don't matter. They think that today is the only day I will live for today. But no, we need to teach them, you do matter. You are important. And we want to help you to reach the best that you can be here in Haiti as a Haitian.
Due to the lack of sponsorship and relief after the devastating January earthquake, Jimmy abandoned his orphanage to find other means of support for himself. Unfortunately, the majority of his orphans had no choice but to return back to the streets. Wilner's orphanage, which took time and effort to build, was also destroyed during the earthquake. With the cholera outbreak and the subsequent storms, the landowners could no longer afford to have Wilner and his kids on the property. Most of Wilner's kids also ended up back on the streets. We recently went back to Haiti to film and to see how Wilner was doing. He took us to an area on the outskirts of Port-au-Prince.
Yeah, this land, we want to buy this land to build an orphanage.
Oh, here?
Oh. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, a pastor already offered me this land. And it would cost me about $3,000 to buy the land. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for all.
What we learned in our walk with the street kids was that they lack spiritual and moral discipline in their lives. Even in the older boys, such as Wilner, Jimmy, and Emmanuel. Life becomes a day-to-day reality, and the future becomes bleak. But this is where faith, love, and hope become so important in their lives.
I fight. I struggle every day. And I know pain and sorrow hangs heavy on my heart. So sometimes when I think about my life story, I crying and I'm happy because you got everything. So now you can show the world about Haiti, so they can see the poverty and how the kids fighting to find food in the streets, you know.
These children need a fair chance in life, and their well-being is tied to how society grows and prospers. Every time I had to say goodbye to them, it was very sad because I don't have all the answers.
Sad reality. Even look at the North Korea, also Ethiopia, also in Africa. A lot of kids, they're hungry.
Oh, we have to find it within ourselves to be compassionate and merciful human beings, so that it makes others the same too. And in that way, the world would be a much better place. To all things that happen, good or bad, to love one another is the greatest gift of all. In our journey together, we had come to know and become friends with Wilner, Jimmy, and the street kids of Haiti. Theirs is a story of hope, courage, and compassion, even in the worst of circumstances. A song that I wrote it on Christmas Day in Los Angeles, when I was at a low point in my life. I wanted to really inspire myself, but others too. Those who give the light from themselves, those who give the light from their heart in order to help others in the world.
I told these street kids, have faith in God and faith in yourself. So someday you'll be able to stand your own.
And that's how we will start with the dream. So all over the world, the children need to know they are important to the world. And first they want to know that they need to know they are important to God.
I give the light from my heart.
At this point, we decided to work with Wilner on helping him to purchase this land. Our hope and dream with Wilner is to not only build an orphanage, but to educate and house these kids, to give them a chance to make a difference for themselves and to the world.
Keep us apart. I'll give the light from my heart. If all of us would share the light, our energy would shine so bright. Embrace more hands to brave the weather. Each spirit would be blessed forever. I give the light from my heart. I'll give the gold from my soul. Your life is precious to me. The dark won't keep us apart. I'll give the light from my heart.
On a parlé de démission, occupation, constitution, opposition, manifestation, négociation, élection, réconciliation, qui solution? Haïti, une chanson. Lord have mercy. Tenez ça. Tout le monde a parlé des gouvernements, débarquement, commandant, agrément, descendant, président, parlement, amendement,